Well, it's been a massive week for Harness Racing Australia. The last 7 days have been a lot to digest for us, I guess. Some of the info's got out. The rest of it we're sort of going to talk about in detail today. Adam Hamilton with you for the first of what will be regular catch-ups with the Chief Executive of Harness Racing Australia, Andrew Kelly. Andrew, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Adam, and really looking forward to this and your contribution in a little bit of a different way with us here at HRA and also RISE and the activities that we're undertaking. I think it's really important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No disrespect to you. I'm looking forward to these, but I'll also be chatting to some of the industry participants along the way and previewing some of our major races. And of course, we've got that Queensland Constellations just around the corner with some of the big Kiwi stars already on a plane across to be part of that. But let's chat about some of the industry issues, and many of these stemmed from the HRA board meeting last Friday. No bigger discussion point on the table than this Stallion levy and the decision's been made not to go ahead with it in the upcoming season, but it is still potentially on the table in future.
Yeah, exactly right, Adam. From a timing perspective, it was not going to be ideal to be introducing something of that magnitude right now and in its current form. Obviously, there was a lot of discussion about that. Through the 6-week window of consultation, it was interesting to read through, and the executive looking at all of the 41 submissions that we received. And at the end of the day, whilst it did unveil and give us some cleaner insights into some activities, particularly around the studs and the way they operate, etc., and we need to take that into consideration. At the moment, it's still on the agenda in terms of finding a mechanism and a way with which to raise additional revenue for the industry and distribute that back in a way that invests or reinvests into the breeding industry. Of course, we're on the back of a sensational 2021 season where 11% increase in the number of mares served, and for the first time in more than a decade, 20 stallions serving more than 100 mares. So we're really keen to not only just maintain that momentum, but to continue a really strong bounce off that. And we will be looking between now and the end of the year for the ways in which we can better support and continue to support, particularly the breeders of Australian horses. You will have seen some announcements around new stallions next year. Bettor's Wish heading to Alabar and sold out in 24 hours or maybe even less. So another a great fillip for the industry. And as I understand it, there's some more major announcements to come. So Australian breeding's alive and well in the standard bred world, and we look forward to continue to facilitate that growth.
Yeah, and even a horse like Lochinvar Art's going to stand at stud whilst he goes through his rehab. So that's another good option for breeders as well. And that's partly what this has been designed to do, isn't it? To increase the potential for our own stallion making process, if you like, down under.
Yeah, it's a really good point that you make there with regards to we've had access to the best sires in the world for a long period of time, and their sons and sons of sons, etc., as we've seen in other racing codes, the way that they've come on board and then started to dominate the local industry. We'd like to see obviously more of that, but we also understand that there's choices that people would like to make, and we want to really be able to sustain this industry long term, and particularly the health of our breed.
Absolutely. Thanks for the update on that. Now let's chat about the national rating system. This was always going to be an evolving system. I think yourself, Cam Brown, everyone involved in this when it first came in, put their hands up and said, we know we're going to need to tinker along the way. And tinker is exactly what's going to take place or was decided would take place after the meeting last Friday.
Yeah, exactly right, Adam. I think there's been no secret that there's probably not even a perfect handicapping system that exists. And, the handicapping system has to work hand in glove with programming to be able to then generate the best possible fields available to maximise revenue returns for the industry. Hasn't been without controversy, and I would need to put our hand up and say that we need to continue to work, particularly with Tasmania and South Australia, who do have some unique aspects of their racing population. But in the main, whichever way we look at it, an angle we look at it, it's been going really, really well for us. There's obviously some really competitive racing. There's some great field sizes in comparison with previous years. We've got improved yields happening through all wagering service providers. And one of the other areas that we probably don't look at as closely as we should or understand as much as we should is the utilisation of our racing population, and that's certainly something that we're seeing more and more of. The number of mares racing, the number of 3-year-olds racing, but then also the number of horses that are racing is on the improve. As part of that, the ratings review team meet regularly, and they're always looking at ways in which to improve and innovate. Obviously, they get lots of feedback from the industry. The direct line to trainers and owners exists at the state level. So we facilitate those meetings on a regular basis. And the latest change that we'll see is some changes to the matrix with regard to the some changes in the points taken in the prize money ranges within that matrix. And we just think it's going to provide some additional opportunities and some additional prize money chances as states look to improve and increase their prize money opportunities without impacting too much on the ratings of horses. And then in another way, you'll see some changes that have been announced with regard to that matrix that will move horses away from each other on a quicker basis. So we think there's some really great, we'll continue to watch this, but we think we're heading in the right direction.
Andrew, animal welfare we know is a massive thing. It probably takes up more of your time and all racing administrators' time than just about anything else. And just a part of that is a project you've been working on around the emergency animal disease situation, particularly in relation, obviously, to the horse industry.
Yeah, exactly right, Adam. It's been a long time since equine influenza was at our shores, and Australia is still the only country to ever eradicate such a disease. And so, well, not even such a disease, but equine influenza, it's a tough one to deal with, as people who went through it in our industry would know. To that end, we've been looking for ways to advocate for some peacetime preparedness activities to happen. And whilst everyone across the industry, or horse industry, in other sectors, and also government, veterinarians, etc., think this is a great idea, we haven't really found the way in which to get some rubber on the road and get this to happen. And the generosity of the chairman of Harness Racing Australia, Graham Campbell, OAM, he's actually donated his chairman's remuneration to this particular project to show some great leadership from HRA, but to bring the rest of the horse industry with us. We've seen what's happened through COVID and the importance of preparedness and testing, and people knowing their role and playing their role the right way. So this exercise, which will be which has been commissioned through Animal Health Australia, will include all sectors of the horse industry, and we're really proud to be able to provide that. And we think that it's another great way to protect our industry moving forward.
Andrew, speaking of COVID, we know how challenging it's been, and not making light of that in any way, shape or form. But there's also no getting away from the fact that it's allowed a recalibration, if you like, for sporting and racing fans to take more of an interest in harness racing than they were pre-COVID. Obviously, there's a lot being done to build upon that, but I would say Australia's probably thrived more harness racing-wise than just about anywhere in the world. Have you got a line on global wagering trends?
Yeah, it's been remarkable, Adam. Exactly right. For a period of time there, only Australian racing and Swedish trotting were available for people that like a bet, on any and all sports. So from that perspective, we clearly thought that we'd enjoy our time in the sun on the global scene through the COVID times. But yeah, I'm really pleased to say that that's continued. So, back in the middle of 2020, we're looking at 2,000% increases with product that was being exported to the US. We're looking for that to come off a bit. At the end of the year, it was 23% up year on year, but continued growth through the US, and particularly Sweden, where we have a great relationship with the ATG. And on the back of 23% increases last year, we're 17% up after Q3 this year. So yeah, there's been no stopping really, and everyone's to be congratulated for the product that's being put on to the television screens. It's being beamed around the world, and yeah, that growth, particularly through Sweden, the US, and the PGI hub, in the Isle of Man, who are a great friend of yours, Sam Nadai's looking after, is all really going well. And a shout out to the Sky Racing International team there, particularly with Matt Patterson and Beth Hanrahan, Paul Cross, and through the Sky Racing World and David Hazlitt, who attended our HRA conference a couple of years ago now, and gave an undertaking to us at that time that he'd look at all the opportunities to exploit our product into the US, and he's been true to his word, and we thank him for that.
Yeah, he's a ripper guy, Dave. So much history in the wagering side of things and the broadcast side of things as well. Really exciting there, and a great platform to build upon, as we talked about. Let's chat a little bit more about Rise and harness.org.au and HRA, obviously. But what we're seeing with this change of structure, if you like, around harness.org.au is a lot of enhancements. Tell me a little bit more, firstly, about the driver profile, trainer and driver profiles.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have started to see this with links through from, be it in the form guide section or field section of the website, to be able to look at the driver profile. And we know, from all the research that we've done, that there's no greater driver of investment in any particular race than the driver of the horse. So when a punter's looking at their investment, they want to know, who's driving their horse. They want to be confident in their capabilities, etc. The other side that they're looking at is who's driving the horse that might have drawn in front of them, inside or outside them. So, we think it's really important to be able to improve the information available to everyone, not just punters, but the wider industry and even just fans of our sport. And so from that perspective, there's been a phase 1 to the driver profiles, which is available for everyone now. It's got great statistical information and detail on each driver individually, and they can actually enhance that themselves. And we're looking at photos and colours and a bunch of other things that will be able to be included in that with these enhancements. But we're looking for a deeper dive on that information that will be available, and we hope to be able to then share that with not just on our website, but with all wagering service providers in a way that we think will continue to help and improve the revenue to the industry. And hot on the heels of that, once we bed that down and get it right, we'll be trainers. So there'll be plenty of information available in a very different way than it has been previously. So they are a couple of really important, I think, promotional type enhancements that will be happening. There's obviously these interviews with yourself and those human interest stories, both in a video sense, but also your cooperation with stories through the News Limited mastheads. And shout out there to Matt Kitchen and his support for what he's bringing to the table. And that's all going to be exciting stuff over the next 7 or 8 months, which will be terrific. But some other, it may seem like a little more mundane, but very important from an industry regulatory perspective. And there are plenty of people out there that understanding that we're moving, away from branding and into microchipping as time goes by. A new search function there for microchips. So, once you have your reader and can punch in the numbers into the search or horse search function, then you find a horse in the same way that you would enter a freeze brand previously. So, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes there, and a shout out to Dan Burrow and also Charles DeBone in terms of the work that they're doing there. But we're really looking forward to the enhancements that are on the table now, through HarnessWeb and other parts of the industry to give greater enablement and automation to the industry. So, industry participants. So, a lot of work going on there, and there'll be a lot of people watching today to understand that another major project underway at the moment with regard to prize money distributions and making that far more streamlined and easier, particularly on trainers and or syndicate managers, managing owners, to be able to get the money in the hands of owners far more quicker than has been the case previously.
Yeah, I think that's terrific. The easier we can make it for people to bring newcomers into the sport, but not be stuck down with all of the paperwork and the time in divvying things, the better. No doubt about that. Sounds like there's a lot on the table there, so we might grab Dan and have a chat to him in a bit more depth about some of those details. Obviously, the fantasy mating project is started, but will continue evolving as well. Andrew, so much on the table. Appreciate the update today and look forward to doing these on a regular basis.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. We should do it after each board meeting and give the industry some insights into the major decisions and the background to them. It'd be great. So thank you again.
Sounds good.